Hello everybody, this is Arlene and I'm at the Carver's Woodshop. I'm going to go over some of the knives here. I'm just going to wait till a few people pop um, into the room. Hello everybody, welcome back. Let me give it a couple of more seconds here until people pop in. If you're watching this on YouTube later, I just wait till people come into the room and we'll get going on what these knives are and the dimensions on them and such. Okay, hi everyone. I'm going to explain to you some of these things about these knives. I only resharpened two of them. The two shortest ones. The ones that are longer, I do not reshape. Number one, the blade is usually too thick, meaning this way. It's probably too thick. Hello, Jane. So I prefer to leave it alone. Same thing with the smaller knife. You can see how thick that is. And the thicker that knife is, the harder it is to get it through the wood, I find. The thinner it is, the better. So there's two knives. There's a larger knife and a smaller knife, and I found that they almost the same color handle on them. So let's go over some of the particulars here. On the large one, on this one here, when it's closed, it's 3 3/4 long inches. We're doing this in inches. If you're not part of the United States and you're in Canada or Europe, it's in inches. Closed is 3 3/4. Open with the one blade, it's with the longest blade, it's 5 1/2. Okay, the width on this, the thickness is 1/2. No, 1/4 by 1/2. And I reshaped two of these blades, the ones on the end that you see, and those are 1 1/2 inch long for the blade by 1 1/2 by 3/8 by 1/8 thick. Okay, and the same thing with the other end. Now they're going to vary a little bit every time I do these, but you know, the blade itself is about 1/8 of an inch thick. All right, that's not real thick. So those are the two that I actually reshape. I grind these down. They're out about to here, and I grind it all down on both ends. The bigger ones and the smaller ones, they take me about the same amount of time because the smaller ones are more intricate, and I have to take my time with it a little bit. It's a little more delicate than the bigger one. I have a little more room of error if because there's more blade that I can play with as far as manipulating it. So that is the large one. The small one runs, now the bigger one was 3 3/4. The smaller one is 3 1/2 by 5 inches open with the largest blade. And reshaped blades are the two on the end that you see, and they're both basically the same, 1 1/4 inch long each one, and one is 6/16 and one is 1/4 wide. Okay, and also again the blade is roughly around 1/8 of an inch thick. So these are the two that I'm redoing. I sold, oh my goodness, I don't know, I sold about 50 of them already that I had done. I didn't realize how many people were going to do it. Now, some people ask, why don't I do the larger one? Well, that's because it's a thicker blade, as you can see. You see how thick that blade is? And to bring it down, you'll probably lose some of this, so I just leave the long one to use for anything else that you want to use it for. If you want to use it, you know, use these two for carving. Of course, use these two for carving. And the last one, the larger one, you can actually use to cut boxes or whatever you need to do. But again, these are a little bit more intricate, a little more delicate to do, and the price is the same. Believe it or not, these two knives cost, actually the bigger one cost me a little less to get than the smaller one. I don't know if it's popularity or just the way. I asked the guy why the difference was, and he really didn't have an answer for me. So I will post these two things. Why don't I just put them here for now? And you can see how much of a difference. There's only about a ½ inch difference between the small and a ¼ inch actually from the small to when it's closed. About a ½ inch difference when it's open. And again, the width, when I'm talking about the width and the height, it's this portion. This portion is definitely smaller. This is 1/2 and this is 1/4 by 1/4 thick. And so they work really, really well. They are really easy to open for the most part. The bigger one's a little more stiffer, but it goes in 2 sections, as you can see here. You can close it, and there's a extra protection with the spring action. Just to let you know that this this knife is not a lock knife, so you want to be very careful. The other thing I'm cautioning people: if you use this knife and you carry it around, do not let anyone else use it or touch it, because they will have no idea how sharp that knife is. It is super, super sharp. And you've seen me use it on my Santa that I did earlier this week. I can use any of these blades to cut, cut whatever I want here. If I take either one, that they all do the same thing pretty well. And they are just super sharp. And especially children, you don't want them touching this stuff. Some care on this, you may want to put a little bit of, well, I put WD-40, but I like putting just a tiny bit of maybe a little mineral oil or something if it starts getting a little stiff. I'm not sure what that would do to the finish on if you use WD-40. I haven't checked that out yet. But one thing you do not want to do with these knives, let me close this up and I'll just demonstrate a little bit. When you're carving, please, if you're new to carving, do not scrape with it. That will dull it up quicker. And I've seen students do that. They're trying to clean out a piece and it won't come out, so they'll just sit there and they'll scrape it out and scrape it out. And I try to tell people this way, don't do that. It just is the worst thing you can do for the blade. What I use to sharpen these blades and keep them sharp is my wheels that I have. I have a couple right here. I've got to make more, but I use these, this little buffing wheel and the leather wheel that I make, and I use these two to put on the Harbor Freight portion. Now, I sold over 200 of these since I started this, probably 6 years ago, 5 years ago. And all you do is buy the machine, and I have 3 videos explaining how to sharpen your tools with it, your mini tools. You can do your gouges with it, the small gouges that you have. You have to buy the tool. The tool costs around, well, it used to be like 30 bucks. Now it's close to 40. So it's a little higher than it used to be. These run $36.75 for a set. I just bought new wheels. I bought 60 more. Of course, lumber has gone up, and it trickles down to everything that you buy today. Almost has gone up. So not much. I'm going to leave it where it is. The knives are both $50, and again, the reason for that is the smaller one is a little bit more money than the larger one, and it's a little more. It takes me a little more time actually to do the smaller ones because the blade is so much smaller than the first one. I don't have a lot of room of error when I do this particular one. So as you can see, they kind of match. The colors kind of match here, and they vary a little bit. But I found that it was kind of nice to see that I could get the same red in the same decorations on the knife than before. I have made knives in the past, my own knives, stationary knives, out of straight razors and different things. Folks, it's a lot of work. If you buy them from someone and they're charging $50, $55, $40 for it, it really is not a bad price for one blade. And it's a stationary blade. And they usually put a very good blade in it. I hardly use a stationary knife anymore. I basically use a Rough Rider. And if you look at any of my videos, numerous videos that I've done, most of them have been with the Rough Rider, and it's the smaller one that you'll see me use. I started using the larger one because I thought I saw this and I thought, well, I'll buy one to see how it feels in my hand. It's definitely a heavier, you can tell between the two, it's a heavier knife. It just feels heavy in your hand, and not bad. It's just a solid. They're both solid pieces, but you know, just the weight is there on the larger one. So if you're interested in this, if you've already been on the list, you're on the list. I have a notebook over here that has everybody's names. I did about 50 of these already. I've gotten another 30 in, and I only have 5 of these smaller ones, and I'll probably keep one for myself, so I can show them and use it while I'm carving online later on again. And yeah, it's been really an interesting. I never imagined so many people were looking for a good pocket knife. Yeah, they're made in China. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. Many things are made in China. A lot of stuff is made in China, and you know, the steel itself is a 440 stainless steel. It's a Rockwell hardness of about 58, and usually carving knives are between 58 and 62. You want it over 57. So this one here has been really, it holds an edge really well for a fairly long time, but between carvings you want to take it and you want to put it on a strop of some sort. You don't want to just keep carving and carving until, you know, and just let it go. Now when you see me carve for an hour, I change knives sometimes, but it's because I I should be stopping and stropping that knife, and the way I strop it is on my wheel, on this electric wheel that I use, and these little things that I have here. So I have plenty of these wheels. I just have to put them together, and that takes a couple of days to glue them up and to do them. Of course, when you take this knife, you take it at your own risk. You know it's not a lock blade. You know it's very sharp, and to use caution using it around people or for anything other than carving. You know, so just be very careful with it. Don't scrape with it. I know there's a tendency of new beginners doing that. And if you want to oil it a little bit, I have not had to do that really with any of these. They stay pretty well as long as you keep the I can put them under the water. I threw one in the an older one. I threw it in the dishwasher, and boy, it came out beautiful. But I wouldn't recommend putting it in the dishwasher. But if you want to put some mild soap on it and clean it up with a brush, like a toothbrush or something, that's fine too, because none of this stuff is going to rust. All this stuff is either brass or it's stainless steel. Okay, so I hope that's been informative. If you want to be on the list and you're not on the list, you're welcome to go to the messenger and let me know that you want one. I know many of you already want the small one. I already got the big one. And the cost of this is with shipping. And Canada, I am shipping to Canada. It runs somewhere around, I would say, anywhere from $9 to $12 right now, depending. That's on Ontario. I don't know about Alberta yet. I haven't checked that one out yet. I'm sorry that I haven't been around to check those prices, but it is a little bit more. Hawaii, I didn't sell one to Hawaii, and I thought it was the same price. It's about $4 more for me to ship it there. So I haven't checked Europe yet. I haven't done that. But I'll tell you, the hardest part in carving is, and the most important, is finding a good knife. If you have a good sharp knife, this is going to be a pleasure to do carving. Nothing's more frustrating than having something that's not sharpened. Also, I'm going to offer, now I'm not set up for it yet, but I'm going, once I get all these knives going, I know there's people that just cannot sharpen tools. That's just a given. Some people are very blessed to do it. I will have maybe later on for those that buy the knife. I'm not doing any knife under the sun because I don't know what they're made of. I don't know how they've been used. But I will have probably a sharpening service for those people that buy the knife. And I think it'll cost somewhere around $16. And what I would have you do is send me the knife with a check. I won't do it through because of the fees on Square. And you can send me a check for that, and then I'll send it back to you when it's sharpened, and I'll do both blades for that. Okay, so, and if you really think about it, $7.50 per blade to get it back to where it was. And if I can't do it to the way it was, then I'll be very honest with you and say it's not going to work, and I'll send you your money back. But for the most part, it should work just fine. And I haven't set that up yet, so don't send me your knives back yet, okay? I'm just telling you what I'm thinking of doing for the future, because a lot of people do not know how to sharpen. And if you ask people how to sharpen their knives, you'll get 10 different answers from 10 different people. And there is no right or wrong way of sharpening. There is a method to making sure, if you notice my blade, when it comes, let me show you. When it comes, you see this little bevel? I'll use one of these other knives. You see this little bevel right here? It's such a tiny bevel. And these knives, I don't care how many times they tell you it's ready, sharpened, especially the pocket knives if you buy them, that they say, oh, they're ready to carve. No, they are not ready to carve. You're going to end up honing them up or regrinding them or something. I always get rid of the bevel. I always flatten the bevel out. But you can see there is no bevel. This is the bevel. And I do all my knives the same way. There is no bevel on my knives. And that is why it will glide through your wood easier. You know how thick it is. If it's too thick, it doesn't glide. It doesn't turn. So that's it for now, folks. So that's some of my thoughts. Some of the other things. This will be up on YouTube a little bit later, and I want you to enjoy carving. These knives, I had some of these knives for a number of years, and I carve with them all the time. And some people say, well, all I do is hone this on a strop, and that's all I have to do to keep these things sharp. I'm sorry, folks, that never worked for me. I always had to re-hone it a little bit more than just on the strop. It might be taking it to a stone, or taking it to one of my machines to actually get it to a point where it's definitely flat again. Because these things tend to round when you use a strop. You're constantly flipping it up. You have it down flat and you're bringing it across and you kind of lift it up. You're hitting that blade and you're rounding that blade a little bit when you do that. So try to keep it flat when you put it on the strop. If you have any other questions, feel free to text me or message me, or even call me if you have a question. I had one lady that got the Murphy knife and said, well, it's just not cutting right. And I said, are you honing it? Yes, on a strop. I said, are you using a strop? She said, yes. Well, it all depends on even how you strop the thing can make the difference. So just keep at it. Just keep working at it. If you can sit with someone to learn how to sharpen these tools, that is going to be the most valuable thing you can do, honestly, because I couldn't do V-tools for the longest time. And, I've been in this for like 40 years. Probably the last 10 years I've done V-tools. I have not done V-tools before because they were intimidating to me. But after some real practice and using the wheels I have now and using some different methods, I found my niche in it, to be honest with you, and it works just fine. So don't be discouraged if you can't sharpen right away. It's just like carving. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And don't be afraid to try to sharpen these. Now, if you're going to hack it to death with a grinding wheel, no, I wouldn't do that. But if you're doing it by hand, you can use like a 600 or a 500 or 200 wet, I'm trying to think what it is, wet sandpaper, like they use for automotive. you can use those to get this edge back on if you need to. But I'll let you know when that service is ready. And, you know, really, I'm not having a lot of time to carve for Christmas. Apparently, I have other things I've got to do. But I'm glad that some of you have gotten yours already. You're really happy with it. That's music to my ears, because I really want you to enjoy these. And believe me, I do each one. I test each blade before it goes out. And if I'm not happy with it, it doesn't leave the place. It doesn't. So, I take my time with it, and I try to do my best, and that's including the gouges that you get. Hopefully you didn't have any that came in that didn't work right out of the box, and that's the way I like to do it. And the other thing, I always vowed I was never going to be a salesman unless I hate salespeople. I really do. Not hate them, but I don't like the pitches on them. I always vowed I was not going to sell tools, but I also saw there was a real need for some good, affordable, usable tools. And some of you know that I used the dockyards in the past. I no longer use the dockyards. They're so expensive. And they changed something where the handle's much short, well, the blade is a lot further away from the handle, the last load that I had. And it wasn't convenient, it wasn't easy for me to do it. So if it wasn't easy for me to use it, I thought beginners are not going to be able to use it. That's why I went to the smaller one. Plus the availability. First they were going to do it, then they weren't. Then they were closed for a while, and then I couldn't get them. And I thought, I'm done with that. So I found another avenue. And yes, those are made in China as well. But they don't come sharpened. Trust me, they do not. You have to know what you're doing when you sharpen those up. So please, if you get this, just handle it with care. You use it at your own risk. Remember, it's not a lock blade. None of them are. A lot of the blades are. I find it's not easy with a lock blade to push that button in and try to close it. I find that's even more hazardous in my book. But it won't close on you when you're working. That's the thing. And this can if you don't use it right. If you use the push and pull method like I always show you online, you'll be fine. All right, so that's my information for today. If you are interested in any of it, just text me or email me or call me or whatever. And, you know, I'll put you on the list. And I hope that's been informative. Please take your time with carving. The other thing I wanted to share with you when you're carving, when you're using any of these blades, okay, when you're carving, just take a little bit at a time. See how I'm using my thumb to push? I'm not using my arm to push like this, because you see I have no control over it when I do it that way. But if I use my thumb and I push that blade in, it does a great job of of doing work. And that's what you want. And then if you have your thumb guards on and stuff, but that works really well. And if you learn the techniques, you won't cut yourself that often. Make sure you wear a carving glove. Make sure you wear a thumb guard when you work, especially for beginners. I highly recommend that. Okay, folks, I said enough and I rambled enough. I hope it's been informative, and we'll see you in, not next week, the following week. Okay, because I get my little COVID shot, vaccine shot next Monday, so I just don't want a chance if I'm not going to feel good. So take care, be careful, and be patient while I get these things done. All right, take care. Bye-bye.